Hello YouTube, welcome back to the second tutorial in our e-commerce with FastAPI series. So in this tutorial we're just going to go ahead and actually begin to build our models, okay, our database basically. So let's get started. So I'm just going to bring up my terminal and I'm going to create a file. I'm going to create a folder rather, and I'm going to call it eCommerce underscore API, just something like that. I'm just going to create that, and I'm going to change my directory into that eCommerce API. Okay, so now that we have that, I'm going to create a Python virtual environment. So for now I'm just going to deactivate my Conda environment. So if you don't have Conda, then you don't have to do that step. Okay, so now that we have that, let's go and actually create a Python virtual environment. Now this is going to work for, what I'm going to type in is going to work for Linux and Mac OS. So if you are on Windows, there's a special command that you need to Google how to create a virtual environment in Windows. So you just Google that and then you can get the instructions to do that. So go ahead and actually Google it if you are using Windows, but if you're using Mac or Linux, feel free to follow along. So I'm just going to create a virtual environment, and I'm going to VNV, and I'm going to call it VNV, and then simply press enter. This is going to take some time, and then it's going to create for us the Python virtual environment. So if I do ls, you can see I have a folder in there called venv, which is the name that I specified here. Okay, so these other commands must be one-to-one, but this one you can specify any name you want. Okay, so I just call it mine venv, and it creates a folder called venv where our virtual environment is. So let's now activate our virtual environment. Again, for Windows users, you need to Google the code to activate your virtual environment, but for Linux and Mac OS users, feel free to follow along. So we're just going to do source venv /bin/activate. Okay, you're going to activate that virtual environment. Now the virtual environment is activated. We can see the name of the virtual environment within parentheses at the beginning of our line. So now that's done, let's go ahead and actually install the libraries that we need. Okay, so I'm just going to go to Google, and in here I'm going to type search for FastAPI. Just search for that, FastAPI, and then search for that. So this is going to bring us to the FastAPI official documentation, and this is just the framework that you're going to be using to build our application. So you can see FastAPI is currently a very new framework in Python, and it's quite good. It's a really good. I like it, and it's faster than, the advantage of FastAPI is that it's faster than Django and Flask, since it supports also async IO operations, which Flask has recently introduced, but I don't know if Django has implemented that. So guys, let's get started. Copy this and then let's install FastAPI. So I'm just going to go back my terminal and then paste that there, pip install FastAPI, or you can also do pip3 install FastAPI. Okay, this is going to install FastAPI within our current virtual environment. Okay, so it's going to take some time, and then it's going to install for us that FastAPI. So great. So now the FastAPI is installed, we also need to install one more thing called uvicon. So if let me just scroll down, maybe it's here under the official documentation. So you can also, yeah, this is the uvicon. So I'm just going to copy this as well. You also need to install the uvicon. Now what the uvicon does is that it helps us to run a server. Okay, so it helps us to run the server, and like in Flask or Django we have the development server. Now to run the app in FastAPI, we're going to using the uvicon app library. Okay, so now that we have that down, let's go ahead and actually install one more library called Tortoise ORM. So Tortoise ORM is a database that you're going to be using. So let me just search for it on Google, Tortoise ORM, and then we can just search that on Google, and then we can get back the result for Tortoise ORM, and then we can just go to installation. Let's go to getting started, and if you're going to getting started, this is how to install it. So we're just going to copy that and then simply paste that in our terminal, and then install that library, which is just pip install Tortoise ORM. Okay, you can also do pip3 install Tortoise ORM. So feel free to use the one that you are comfortable working with. So great. So now that we have that installed, I can just open up my Visual Studio Code, and then we can begin writing our app. Okay, so I told you you're going to be creating you're going to be creating the app here. So let's just create in here a folder, right? You're going to call this a Python file. You're going to call it model.py. This way we're going to be keeping our model. So let's just call it models. It makes more sense if I call it models. So let me just rename that to be models. Okay, so I have that file called models.py, and in models.py that's where we're going to be writing our models. So we need to import a couple of things in order to get started. So I'm just going to bring it. We're going to import, we're going to say this is from Tortoise ORM. So we're going to go just close this from Tortoise import model. Okay, so we're just going to say also from Pydantic import base model. Okay, so for now let's just import those two libraries, and then we can go ahead and actually begin to create our database. So we're going to create two databases, so actually three databases, one for the user, one for the business, and then one for the products. So let's go ahead and actually create the one for the user. So class user, and this is going to take in model. You're going to inherit from the model that you have imported from Tortoise ORM. So we're going to go ID. Each product, each user is going to have an ID, and this is going to be fields. You also need to import these fields from Tortoise ORM. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to import fields. Okay, so I'm going to just come here and then say fields dot this is going to be int field, an integer field, and then it's going to be a primary key. You're going to set this to be a primary key, so I'm going to set that to true, and then index, you can index that to be true. Okay, because we're going to be using that to query our database a lot. So we're going to say username, and then the username is going to be fields dot character field. So it's going to be a character field, character field, and then this is going to be have a max length. You can specify the max length of this. You can leave the max length to be 20. The username, we don't want anything more than 20. Null is going to be false. We don't want it to be empty. It means that each user must have a username, and then we want the unique to be true. Unique should be true because we want the usernames to be unique. Okay, and then you want email, and then the email is just going to be fields dot car field, and then the car field is just going to allow us to have some email in form of text. So we're going to have maximum length is to be 200, and then you're going to be null. Each user must have an email, so null is going to be false, and then you're going to have a unique is going to be true. So sorry, unique is going to be true, and then you're going to have a password. So password, each user will have a password, and then the password is just going to be fields dot car field, right, a character field where you're going to be storing the users. Wait, sorry, I don't know why this keeps happening. Car field, and then this is going to be having a max length. A max length is going to be a max length of 100, and then null will be false, meaning that you must have a password, right? And then it's going to say we're going to have this is verified, and then this verified is just going to be fields dot which is going to be a boolean field, fields dot boolean. So boolean field, so the boolean field is just going to be a true or false. So by default all accounts are not activated, right? And then you're going to also have join date underscore date, and then you're going to have fields dot, this is going to be date time field, and then the date time field is going to have a default equals to time datetime dot utc. Now I'm going to import datetime from here, so we're going to say from datetime import, if I get this time, import date time, just like that. From datetime we're going to importing datetime, so we're going to move down here. I'm going to say date datetime dot utc now. Okay, so that is just you pass in the, you don't call the function, you just pass it in. So it's going to be created using this, going to be calling it in the background. You don't specify the parameters here, you just pass that in there. So join date is just going to be fields dot datetime field, and then default is going to be utc now. Okay, now let's create a database for the business. Okay, so business, and then it's going to inherit from the model that you have just imported from Tortoise ORM. So this is going to be fields dot integer, an integer field, and then this field is going to have is going to be primary key for this table. So primary key is going to say that to be true, I can set index to be true, so we can use this field to filter. Okay, filter our database. So business underscore name, and then each business is going to have a name. So this is going to be fields dot this is going to be car field, a character field, and this character field can have max length, and then the max underscore length. The max length can be let's say 20, and then it must not be null, so null is false. And then this business name, right, nullable. Okay, so this business name must have unique equals to true. Each business name must be unique. Great. So you're going to have city. This is going to be fields dot a character field, and then this is going to have a max underscore length, and then the max length is just going to be 100, and then we can just specify null to be false, and then we can also specify default in case default, and then default will be unspecified. Okay, in case they didn't specify. So at the point of registration, I won't give them the ability to type in their city. They'll just register, because they'll just register when they just register as a user. Then the business will be created for them out. The business model, the account in the business database, right, will be created for them, but the default field will be unspecified. And then later on, they can have an update functionality in case they want to update their city. Okay, region, and then the region where the business is, we can specify fields dot car field, and then the character field is going to have a max length, and then the max length is going to be, let's say, 100, and then the is null, cannot be null, so this is null, it's going to be false. And then you can specify default, and then default can be also unspecified. Great. So now that we have that, we can also specify the business. It's going to be the business description, maybe a little bit description about the business, what they do and what the services that they offer. So build, it's going to be fields dot text field. So it's going to be a text field because it's going to be a bit of a text. So now you can say null is going to be false. Sorry, null can be true, it can be empty, because if you don't provide a description, that's also fine. And then you also have a logo. Each business will have a logo, and this will be fields dot this will be a character field, and in this character field it can have a max length, and the max length can be let's say 200. Yeah, fine. And then we can also specify the null can be false, and then you specify the default, and then the default is just going to be default dot jpg. Okay, this is just going to be a default image that we can keep in our file later on, where each business that doesn't have its own logo will default to the default logo, right? So owner is just going to be a foreign key, so it's going to be fields dot foreign key field, and then in here you need to provide which model is going to be a foreign key. So I'm going to say models dot user. Okay, you're referring to our file which is called models, and then you're referring to this class of it. Okay, so referring to a class called models, sorry, our Python file called models, and then we're referring to this class inside of this file, right? So that's where our foreign key is. Means that each business will have an owner attached to it. So related name, you can specify the related name to be business, just like that. That's all we need for the business database. So let's create the one for the product. So we're going to call it product, and then it's going to inherit from model as usual, and then it's going to have an ID. This is going to be fields dot int field, and then we specify the primary key is going to be true. You can say index, you can say that to be true, and then we can use the name. Each product is going to have a name, and then the name is going to be fields dot character field, and then the character field is going to be max length. It's going to have a max length, let's say 100. Null can be false, and then we can specify index. The index can also be you can use this as an index, because you can use the name to filter that. So each product is going to have a category, so you can, this is just be fields dot character field, and this character field is going to have a max length, and the max length, let's say 100, or let's say 20 or 30. 30 is fine. And then we can specify the index can be true, and then we can specify the original underscore price, and then the original price is going to be fields dot this is going to be a decimal field, because we're going to be storing in there decimal value. So decimal field, and then max digit, you can specify max digit to be max digit can be 12, and then you can specify the decimal places can be 2. Yeah, that's all we need. So, and then we can also specify the new price, new underscore price. So new price of the product will be the updated price, in case the user wants to have a discount field, right? For example, the user would want to maybe had a product original price was 100, and now he wants to say that a discount of 90. So this will be the field that will store that discounted value, and then we'll use that to also calculate the percentage of the percentage discount of the product. So we're going to go max digits again can be 12, and then decimal places can be 2 again. So because we also percentage underscore discount. So this we are going to calculate the discount. So this is going to be it's going to be an integer field. So this is going to be fields dot decimal, it's actually a capital D, decimal field, just like that. And then sorry, this percentage discount, sorry, is rather int field. So int field, just like that. And then we can also go offer expiration. So expiration date. Okay, this is when the offer the discount is going to be expiring. So this is going to be date time field, and then in this date time field you're going to add a default. So this is actually just going to be a date field, not a date time field. So it's going to be a date field, and then in the date field you're going to have a default, and the default is just going to be date. This is actually date time dot UTC. Now that's all. Don't call it, just pass it in. So this actually fields dot date time dot date field, and then the UTC now. Okay, default is UTC now, and then you have product image, right? So the product image is where the image of the product is going to be, and the product image is just going to be again another field of fields, and it's going to be product, going to be a character field. Basically it's going to store the name of the image, right? So max length, you can specify max underscore length. Let's say max length is let's say it's 200. I don't know, 200 is fine, and then we can say now equals to false. And then we can specify the default. The default can be the default product image can be product default.jpg, or you can call it anything you want. So just call it product default.jpg. Okay, so we're going to have a default in case they didn't specify a product name. We're going to have a default product name called product default.jpg. Okay, so now that's done. Let's also create another foreign key here. So we're going to call it business. This is going to be business underscore fields, and then the business field is going to be foreign is going to be a foreign key field. So a foreign key field, and then this is going to have the model that is going to relate. So going to be models, which are a Python file, and then it's going to relate to the business, right? Each product is going to be linked with its business in which it belongs to. So then we have related name. You can call it product. So if you get a business and we do business.products, it's going to return to us all the products. That's what the related name means. So great. Now that we have those database created, let's go ahead and actually do the this is actually date time. So let's actually go ahead and actually implement the create the pydantic models of these databases. Okay, that's how things work in FastAPI. So let's go ahead and actually create user user underscore pydantic. Pydantic, this will be pydantic. Okay, we need to actually import this pydantic. So let me see. So this is pydantic. It's going to be pydantic. Okay, let me check what we need. So we need to import from Tortoise ORM. We need to import a certain library. So we're going to say from tortoise dot contrib dot this is going to be pydantic. We're going to be importing pydantic underscore model underscore creator. So it's going to be used to create a pydantic model. So let's go ahead and actually use it here. So from tortoise orm.contrib.pydantic, import the pydantic model creator. So down here, we're going to use the pydantic model creator. What you're simply going to say is this will allow us to create our pydantic model. So we need to provide in the data, the class in which we want to create a pydantic model for. Again, the name is going to be you can call it user, right? User, this is the name of the table. And then you can exclude we're going to exclude some fields here, and then I'm going to exclude is underscore verified. So the reason why I'm excluding this field is that you're going to be using this field to accept the user's data when the user wants to register. Now we don't want to provide the user with verified, right? Because the user can be able to the front end can be able to just set the verified to be true, and then the user will be verified. We don't want that. We want the user to be verified through the email account. That's why we're excluding this. Again, this is a tuple, so don't forget that. So great, now that you have that, they go ahead and say user underscore pydantic in. Okay, so this is going to be used to obtain the user's data from the front end. So this is going to be pydantic in, and then this is going to be pydantic underscore model creator, and then we're providing the model, which is going to be sorry, it's again we still have our user. And then you can specify the name. The name is going to be user in again, and then we can specify exclude read only, and then we can specify this to be true. So we're going to exclude the read only fields because we don't want the users to be able to update the read only fields, so we are going to exclude them. Okay, so if you don't know more about your Tortoise ORM, you can check out their documentation. It's a very good library. Okay, so you can just check out the official documentation. It explains things in detail. In this tutorial, I don't want us to okay, I made a mistake here. This is not a tutorial about Tortoise ORM, but since you're using it, I'm just going to explain to you the basic concept. So if you are interested in going deeper into the Tortoise ORM, they have a great documentation. You can just Google that out. So just creating another user pydantic out. This is what they're going to be to return responses to the user. We're going to call it user out, and then we need now to specify exclude. We're going to exclude a certain field. So we're going to exclude the password field. We're going to exclude the password field, just like that's the only field we're going to exclude. So whenever we're sending something back to the user, sending the user's information back to the user, we need to be able to exclude the password field because we don't want anyone to have access to the password, even though the password we're going to hash it in the later on in the series, but we don't want anyone to have access to it. So if you're sending anything back to the user, we want the user's password hashed, okay, and not to be revealed. Okay, you're going to exclude that field. It's very important that you exclude password fields because you don't want it getting to people, right? So pydantic, so this was called business underscore pydantic, and it's going to be pydantic model creator, and you're going to create the pydantic model for our business class. So business, and then the name, you can specify the name to be business, and then we can also specify that's all we need to specify for this. And then because down here we also need to specify business pydantic. This is going to be in, and then this is going to be pydantic underscore model creator. We're going to pass in our business, and then we're going to specify the name. The name is going to be business in. Okay, business in, and then we can specify exclude read only field, and then the read only field is just going to be exclude read only field is going to be true, right? Set that to be true. That's all we need. And now we're going to go and actually create the last pydantic model, which is going to be the product, right? So product underscore pydantic is just going to be pydantic underscore model creator. We're going to pass in here product. So then we have product table, and then the name is just going to be product. Yeah, that's all we need for this. And then we can go and actually create the product pydantic in. So the product pydantic in. So the product pydantic in, whenever you see in, meaning that this is what you're going to be using to take data from the user. So let me just get this right. This is what you're going to be using to take data from the users on the front end. Now you're going to exclude the read-only fields, because the read-only fields are just going to be read-only, right? So whenever the user is going to post a form or something to us, we don't want them to post that back. For example, it's verified, right? It's verified from the user's account. It's only a read-only field, right? We don't want the read-only fields. The read-only fields can be like these foreign keys right here. We don't want to send the foreign keys back to the user. We don't want the user to send the foreign key to us whenever he's making a request, right? Because he doesn't know what the foreign key is. That's why we're excluding those read-only fields. So for example, I want to register, I want to add a product, right? This product field expects a foreign key called business model, right? Now we don't want the user does not know the foreign key, the value for this field, right? So we want to say exclude read only, so the user is not expected to send it back. Okay, so for example, there are foreign keys, right? We just want you to give us the product name and the product details. We'll deal with the foreign key ourselves. So that's why we're excluding the read only fields. And an example of a read only field is just the foreign key fields. Okay, great. So I hope you understand why you're doing that. So you're going to be using this to obtain results from the user, and you're going to be using this to send results to the user. Okay, so product, and then we can have a name here. The name is just going to be product in, just like that. And then in here we're going to have exclude. We're going to exclude a certain field, so this is going to be a tuple, and you're going to be excluding percentage underscore discount. Okay, we're going to be excluding a percentage discount. You're also going to be excluding the product ID. Okay, great. So that's what we're going to be excluding. So whenever a person is making a request to adding a new product to our database, we don't want him to pass in the percentage discount, because this will be calculated, and then we also don't want him to pass in the product ID, because we'll be able to figure that ourselves. So that's all we need to create our database. So great. Let me just bring back my side panel, and I'm going to have, okay, I think I just need to delete this. Okay, make sure I'm deleting the right one. Okay, so we have this one here. So I'm going to create another file here. I'm going to call it main.py. So in main.py, that's what we're going to simply do is create a simple FastAPI app, and then you're going to, so I'm going to say from FastAPI, we're going to import FastAPI, and then we're going to create app. It's going to be FastAPI. That's all we need to do to create that app, and then we can instantiate it right there. So I'm just going to register my models down here. So at the bottom I can register my models, and then I just what I need to do is just to import certain things from Tortoise ORM. So from Tortoise ORM, you're going to be importing something called register model. Okay, so you're going to say up here at the top, you're going to say from Tortoise ORM .contrib.FastAPI import register tortoise. Okay, so we also need to import our models. So from models import, I'm just going to import everything, because we're going to use everything from there. Okay, so I'm going to register tortoise model, and then in here I need to provide in some certain arguments here. So the first argument is going to be app, which is just the instantiation of the Flask app, and then DB URL. The DB URL is just going to be where the database is going to be. So it's going to be an SQLite database, and then colon 2// data base.sql SQLite 3. So it's going to be an SQLite 3 database, and it's going to be stored in a file called database. Okay, simple. And then you're going to have models. The models is just going to be a dictionary, and then the first one is going to be models, and then you're going to pass in a list, and you're going to pass in models. Okay, great. And now you're going to get generated schemas, and then this is going to be generate schema. This is going to be true, and then you're going to also pass in add exception handlers, and then this is also going to be true. So that's all we need to register our API, our Pydantic model. So let's just create a simple route here. We're going to go the app.get, and then this is going to be just going to pass in the basic the index. So we're going to def index, and then we're not going to pass in any parameters. What you're simply going to do is you're just going to return a dictionary. Okay, so the dictionary have a message. So this dictionary is going to have a message, and then the message is going to be hello world, just like that. So if I save this, and then we can go back to our terminal and then try to run our application. So make sure I'm in the directory where the application is. So to run it, just have to say uvcon, which is the library installed, the file containing your FastAPI instantiation. So you can see in our main.py we have the FastAPI instantiation, right? So this is the name that you're supposed to provide in here, and then you have to say app, which is the instantiation that the name of the instance of the FastAPI. We call that was app. Okay, so now that we have that, we need to say -- reload. So you can also find all of these commands on the official documentation. So we have a model. We have an error here, so let's go ahead and actually fix that error. So let me see which line is that. So it's on line 9. So let's go back in here. I made a typo on line 9. So here it's actually called int field, not that thing that I typed. So let me just save that and go back to the terminal and then try to run it again. So model tortoise field has no attribute in field. Okay, this is on line 18. Okay, I made a couple of errors, so it's actually int field. Okay, so I hope I don't have any more errors. Just save this, try to run again. Okay, got unexpected argument models. Okay, so let me just excuse me, it's actually called models, and then this is models modules. So this is actually not models, it's actually modules. Okay, so save that. So the modules is just going to be that value right there. So let me try it now. Okay, now our app is running fine. So let me just stop this for now. Okay, it has refused to stop. So let me, I don't know why it always crashes on me. So let me just try to open it up again. So I'm just deactivate my content environment, and then make sure I'm in the source v first. So I'm going to activate my virtual environment, and then I'm just zooming so that you guys can see. So what you're simply going to do in here, just going to activate our virtual to run our application again. So I'm just going to close this window. It always crashes sometimes. I don't know why this always happens. On my other laptop it doesn't happen, but on this laptop it always crashes. I don't know why. So let me make sure that I'm in my directory, and I'm just going to go uvcon, and this is going to be main app, and then slash put the reload flag, reload. Okay, then try to run that. So you can see it's running on localhost at port 8000. So let me just go and try to open localhost at port 8000, and then this should bring out Chrome, and then let's see what we get. So we can see we get back here hello world. That's just simply it. So in FastAPI, it also comes to advantage of FastAPI, also comes an automatically generated documentation. So you can see we have this documentation right here, right off the box. We don't have to do anything for it. Just execute. It's simply going to return to us the dictionary hello world or JSON. Okay, so that's, guys, that's how we are able to register our models, and all our models are registered. So next we'll begin to register users into our FastAPI application. So guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this tutorial so far, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos like this. Thanks for watching. Keep safe. See you in the next one.